Hello, everyone. We have created this instructional video to help you complete your ADA plan and your grievance procedure as part of the Arts and Culture Trust Fund application. We have this section that asks you to upload an ADA plan if you have one, and a grievance procedure. And because accessibility is a priority of this application, this grant program, it does account for 20% of your total score with the grant review panel. So we want to make sure that you have a really successful application and that we can answer as many questions as possible as you're walking through the process of completing this application. So what is an ADA plan? An ADA plan is a formal document, and that covers about 3 years of accessibility offerings for your program or organization. It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to have solved all accessibility hurdles for your organization, but what it allows you to do is lay out a roadmap for becoming more accessible with your programming over those 3 years. There's a lot of resources that can help you with this ADA plan, and I want to talk through a few of them. The first resource is the Cultural Access Network that is through the New Jersey Theater Alliance, and I'm going to take you to this page right now. The New Jersey Theater Alliance's Cultural Access Network has a focus of helping organizations across the state of New Jersey host arts programming that is accessible to all. The goal here is, like I said earlier, not to have perfection, but to approach programming through with the goal of having full accessibility. And what is full accessibility? That means that any manner in which people engage with your programming, they can approach the facility, they can enter the facility, they can engage with whatever you're presenting, they can volunteer. There's internal structures that help address concerns, that you're inclusive in your hiring practices. So it's not just the front of the door, it's the back of the house and everything in between. So for your ADA plan, you're going to want to cover 3 years. So that would be this current year plus 2 years into the future. And I like to think about this plan in 3 sections. So one section would be program accessibility. So do you offer sign language interpretive performances, assistive listening devices for persons with who might need assistance with hearing what's happening on stage, and that could also come in the form of text. So maybe there's something that your audiences could follow along with, and that could be a physical script, or it could be something that they can access on their phones and read through their phones. Can they view the labels on your gallery show, or do you have a large print of all of the artwork in the exhibition, large print text that they can follow along as they're moving through your gallery? These are some examples of how programming can be made more accessible to the public. And those offerings, we want to make sure that the public can find easily. And that is both on your marketing materials and on your website. The second part of accessibility really has to do with how your organization approaches accessibility internally. Do you have an access coordinator, a point of contact? This is something that is also asked for on the application. somebody, a clear name and contact email and phone number where the public can reach out to this person and ask questions about accessibility. Do you have an internal committee that can assist the artistic director, the executive director, the curators in thinking about accessibility? So what is so great about having an access committee is that they can step in and say, hey, have you thought about this? Or, you know, we could help give a tactile tour, you know, on this day, or let's think about new ways to market programming. So a committee, an active committee that is always thinking about accessibility in all forms for your organization or program can really help, you know, to have that forward thinking mentality around how we can always be approaching new programs through that lens of accessibility. So sharing this responsibility among several people and sharing information and bouncing ideas off of one another can be extremely helpful. And then another part of accessibility in this third section is your facilities. So when somebody gets to the door, can they get through the door? Is there an accessible restroom? Is there accessible parking near the venue where the program is taking place? So this is what we mean by kind of a well-rounded approach here. So it goes beyond having, you know, one program that would be accessible, but having an organization that, you know, all the way around is thinking about how people can engage and always feel welcome when they want to support what you're presenting. Another aspect of accessibility is also folks who are on the autism spectrum. A lot of times there could be, you know, a presentation that might have the lights up. So instead of theater lights, you know, it has the regular overhead lighting, less sensory triggers, an environment that is inviting, and you know, it's okay if you're coming and you have to talk or move around as an audience member while you're watching the production. That's another way that, you know, in programming planning, you can think about having a specific performance that would welcome these audiences. So those are a few of those main points to be thinking about as you're approaching your ADA plan. When you go to the Cultural Access Network's website, which I will take you to again. This is the New Jersey Theater Alliance, NJ Theater, THEATRE, alliance.org. You go to Industry Services. And you'll see the Cultural Access Network right here. They have so many helpful tools to help you with your ADA plan. What I find to be most helpful here is this ADA plan outline and worksheet. So the ADA plan there you go. Is a great way to get you thinking about all these aspects of accessibility, thinking about how that ties in with your particular programming. And then you can use this as a starting point to then draft a narrative ADA plan. And by earlier I said, you know, your ADA plan is a formal document. That also means that any, depending on your type of organization, it means it is something that is recognized by your board of directors if you're a nonprofit. If you are an independent organization, like an LLC, who are the decision makers in your organization, you'll want to present these documents, make them readily available, make sure everybody's on the same page, have a dialogue, and see if there's any updates that need to be made to this document. And then everyone can refer to it. It becomes a really helpful tool for evaluating your accessibility, the improvements that you want to make over time, new goals you might want to add to this document. Just consider it a living document that you can always go back to, always be improving on, just like you would a business plan. So this is a really great starting point. And then also in terms of accessibility, the Cultural Access Network has an ADA self-assessment tool. And the self-assessment tool will help you walk through your organization step by step. And evaluate all aspects of your organization in terms of accessibility. So that self-assessment tool comes into play in, you know, how you can use the self-assessment to address what you're doing well, what you want to work on in the future in that ADA plan. Again, that's all on that Cultural Access Network page. Another great resource is the Hudson County Office of Cultural Affairs LAP grant, where they also have a different way of looking at your planning for accessibility in those 3 years over the 3-year timeline. And it's also broken out into sections. So sections in terms of programming accessibility, facilities accessibility, organization leadership, and how you approach accessibility. Okay, so if you go to the Hudson County Cultural Affairs / LAP-ADA, that's for the lab grant ADA, you'll see that they have a lab chart, ADA chart, and this is what I was talking about. You can see here are your 3 years that you would be planning out accessibility. Do you have a formal policy and that organization plan that's been adopted by your leadership? Is there that point of contact, an ADA coordinator? Do you have a grievance procedure, which we'll talk about in a moment? That self-assessment survey, which is available at Cultural Access Network. And it goes through all of the compliance areas that you could be thinking about here. Facilities accessibility, everything I just discussed. So this is a great starting point too, as you build out an ADA plan. The next thing I wanted to talk to you about is a grievance procedure. If you go back to the Cultural Access Network page, it does have a sample ADA grievance procedure. And this is the one that was used with permission from the State Theater in New Jersey. And you can see it's not super long, but what it does outline is a process for your organization to follow. The grievance procedure should address a method by which your organization can receive complaints from the public if they have been trying to engage with your programming and have found that it's not accessible. So who do they reach out to? What number do they call? What is your internal process for receiving those complaints, for talking about them, having that conversation internally, and addressing those complaints as they come? I also think it's good to have a procedure for incidents that may happen at your event or on the property where you present programming too. These kind of guides are really important internal tools for your arts management. So we always want things to go smoothly. We always hope that they will. But if something happens on site, you take out that procedure, and that is whoever is leading your organization or is on site that day can follow those step-by-steps. And then that is across the board the way it's handled in your organization. So a grievance procedure, again, would be that document that outlines how you handle complaints around accessibility internally for your organization. Your ADA plan and particularly your ADA coordinator and what your accessibility offerings are should be clearly visible and accessible on your website. If I'm going to your website as a patron or a potential patron and I require any sort of accessibility services, I'd like to be able to find from the homepage very quickly who I can contact or what your timelines might be. Like maybe I need to request an interpreter 2 weeks in advance by contacting this person. So that is how quickly and easily people can access information on your website is also a part of having a good, strong accessibility plan. So I do hope that this is helpful for you. Again, here are the resources. You can always reach out to us. This video will be posted on our Cultural Affairs website that you can come back to and refer to. The Cultural Access Network is at njtheateralliance.org, and Hudson County Cultural Affairs is there at hudsoncountyculturalaffairs.org. And that extension was ADA-plan for the 3-year ADA chart that I walked you through earlier. Thank you so much. We also encourage you to view the other video that accompanies this one, that was the presentation by the Cultural Access Network themselves, where they led potential arts and culture trust fund applicants through the whole world of accessibility in the arts. And it's a really great video. I encourage everybody to watch that as a companion video to this one. Okay, thanks. Best wishes, everybody.